What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we want to talk about student accommodation and the drama surrounding that lucrative industry, if I can call it that. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Hello. People, student accommodation is meant to be affordable, is meant to be um, student friendly, it's meant to be secure, it's meant to be functional, and it's just meant to accommodate student lifestyle. Now, when we get property developers and we get real estate agents and we get unscrupulous government, student government organizations that collude with property developers, real estate agents, and just accommodation service providers. And I just, for the life of me, I cannot understand how people, companies, businesses can profit off of students. I know that student accommodation is big business. I totally understand that. I mean, I'm not oblivious to the fact that there are students who come from wealthy backgrounds, rich backgrounds. They come from, you know, they have money, they can afford to rent in flats for the duration of the tenure at the universities. I'm not oblivious to all of that. You see, when companies offer, or banks and other institutions, when they offer students services or products, there's something called students rates. Same like pensioners. When you're offering a service or a product to a pensioner, you give them a pensioner's rate, regardless of their background. There's no such a thing as this pensioner is going to get the same product but at a different price because this pensioner is coming from a wealthy background. They can afford this thing, so but this pensioner, no. This pensioner's prices, this student prices, this kiddies prices, this adult prices. And then for good measure, there are, if you're unemployed, prices, if you are broke, prices, right? Guys, a student accommodation, to be honest, is not meant to be a profitable business where you're now milking students who can barely afford anything. Like I'm saying to you, the students that can afford accommodation, they're not, the majority of them are not going out there looking for any cheap accommodation. They're going straight and they're just going out and they're renting flats. They're subletting the flats to make their money back that they're spending on the money. That's what they're doing. But the ones that clearly do not have the means to pay exorbitant fees. I mean, guys, does it make sense to say a student accommodation is going for 5,000 rand a month, 6,000 rand a month? I mean, that's not student accommodation. That's a bond. I mean, okay, maybe I'm wrong. But if you're catering for students, if you're catering for the youth, why are you charging them working people's prices? Even though they come from uh, middle class, working, rich backgrounds. If your business is geared towards students, right? You've got to create a package that's designed for the students. Now, because you are charging them exorbitant prices, that means you are not targeting the students. You're targeting the parents, of which it's not the parents that are living in the property. So I think that is very unscrupulous. That is very wrong. And the thing that I discovered as well is allegedly NSFAS is also involved in this because the accommodation providers, they collude with NSFAS, in which NSFAS gets to pay for the students' accommodation. And these people are like pocketing the money some way, somehow. So, guys, are we getting to that point where we're now ripping off students? Students who barely, guys, students who barely even have food to eat. Have you seen the majority? Student life, guys. Student life is not an easy life, to be honest, guys. When bread and noodles becomes your daily thing for the next 3 to 4 years, when you've now got to go out and basically escort yourself, when you basically have to go and do promotional work in these nightclubs and stuff, all because you are pushing the students to try and raise money for accommodation that was not meant to be that exorbitant to begin with. Now, do you see how you're taking the student away from full-time study, having now to go and become an escort, or having to go become a bar server or a bartender or a waiter? Now they've got to do all these other things just because now you are an unscrupulous landlord and you're trying to milk the system for all it's worth. Another thing is the accommodations that some of the students live in are not even close to the institutions of which they study. That's another problem. That's another problem. Another problem is that these accommodations are not even safe for female students. Some of the accommodation doesn't even have functioning water supply. Doesn't even have um adequate student like functionality. Like desks. When you have a okay, I'm not a student home provider, but I'm thinking if I want to rent out my home to students, I've got to design it in such a way that even if the parents come to visit, it must reflect that we can see it is student friendly. It will have desks, it will have beds, it will have just the what just the necessities, right? Needed. It doesn't have to be over the top. Just the basic stuff, right? But those things have got to be functional, and those things have to be in order. It's got to make sure that the place is clean. I don't mind if the students come and they on the weekend they mess it up, they're partying with their friends. But Monday, you gotta make sure that Monday to Friday or Monday to Thursday, or Monday to Friday afternoon at least, that place gotta be clean. Now we have students living in rundown places. We have students living 10, 20 kilometers away from the institution. It's not safe. There's hardly electricity. It's just in a danger zone almost. Why would you do that to students? Why? Why are we ripping off students? These are our future leaders, our future bankers, our future next generation, the people that are going to lead, and you're treating them like this? I don't know, guys. It's just a sad case that students are having to study in conditions that are not conducive to study in. Students having to study, having to worry about rents that are so exorbitant that they can't even afford them. I mean, it's hard enough that students got to study, plus having to work when all they want to do is just study and get it over with. I mean, why are people so money driven, hungry driven? Why are people so predatory? I mean, it's unfair to see someone who's traveled all the way from, let's just say, Limpopo to Cape Town, doesn't even have accommodation. The person is sleeping in a library or in the science labs or wherever they're finding accommodation, in the bathroom, in the toilet, on campus, somewhere, somehow. Then finally it says student accommodation. You get then it's the price of a flat. How is that student accommodation? How? Guys, if you charging the same rates, the same prices as a normal flat, how is that student accommodation? How? I mean, taxi drivers, they even have prices for students. Student, nah, you pay that price. Pensioner, nah, you can pay that price. I mean, taxis even have that. I'm not saying all taxis, but some taxis you get in, they tell you, no, I'm a pensioner. Oh, okay, man, you can pay 10 rand. Yeah, I'm a student. Yeah, okay, sure. You can pay 10 rand. So why, when it comes to student accommodation, why are we trying to maximize? Why? That's what I'm saying. Why? Why are we trying to rip off the students? You know what I mean? It's totally I mean, it's totally unfair. It's totally wrong. Government has to step in and say, okay, there's X amount of students going to universities, right? So government needs to provide X amount of rooms, at least dormitories, blocks of units to accommodate a certain amount of students. Of course, they're going to work hand in hand with the universities to build these things, because this thing is unsustainable, guys. You cannot be getting students now going to go and do unsavory things just because they need to pay for the accommodation. Guys, that's just not right. That's not how you treat students. That's just not how you treat students. I mean, some of the students are even dropping out because they can't cope with the work life, work school. That it's just too much. It's too much. Some of them are even failing because they're too tired to study. Some are so stressed out with the rent that they can't even focus on the study. Do you know how unfair that is? I mean, it's like normal primary high school children. Imagine having to think about school and not having food at home, having to study without eating, having to play parent to your younger siblings because your parents are not responsible, or your parents are not present, or your parents are busy working out of town, and you playing parent, you're studying, you're working, you have to do your schoolwork, you have to come back, do the laundry, do the cleaning, do the it's not fair to burden students with all these other unnecessary burdens that do not pertain to their studies. Because at the end of the day, when they fail, we the first ones to look at them and say, these people are stupid. These people are not focused enough. These people are not. How are you going to focus? Or how can you focus when you have all these other distractions that are bearing down on you? Do you know how fast a month flies when you are in debt, when you are having bills to pay? Do you know how slow a month moves when you have no bills to pay? People will be so shocked when you be like, what's the day today? Like, oh, today is the 5th. Oh, it's only the 5th. Hmm. When you ask someone who's owing and they say, today's the 5th, you're like, already? Yeah. Oh, my goodness. You see, when you pay your bill now, or you pay your rent now, whatever bill it is, water bill, rent, bear bond, you name it, you breathe a sigh of relief for about a week or two. Thereafter, if you do not have a steady source of income, why now? Why now? Anyway, the show must go on. Right, back. Diablo. Much better. People, when you have 2 weeks of breathing space and then you got to double down and now hustle to get what you need to get for end of the month. You don't want to hustle at the end of the month. You want to hustle 2 weeks in advance so that you can rest easy. That's not a life as a student. I mean, imagine hustling for rent as a student. Then what are you going to be doing when you finish school? You've now got You've now graduated, but you can't even get your certificate because you don't even have the money for the certificate because you're owing and this and do you see the things that students go through just because other people are adding to their already burdened plates? Guys, it's unfair. We need to treat students as students. Give them that um what's the word? We need to give them that student lifestyle. We need to live, we need to let them live in that student glory. So when they look back, they cannot say, I was robbed of my childhood because I had to work from a young age. I had to play mom, dad. I had to pay the bill. I had to do this. I had to hustle. I had to. Guys, most students drop out because of fatigue. Most students drop out because they can't afford the fees. Most students drop out because the accommodation became too expensive. Now they can't travel from it. They try everything. It doesn't work. They don't want to sell their souls. They don't want to sell their bodies. So what they do is like, you know what? It's not worth it anymore. I can't keep sleeping in the lab. I can't keep keeping in the toilet. I can't keep sleeping. It's too much now. Rather call it quits and go home. And say, I can't keep paying. My parents only gave me 2,000 rand or 3,000 rand, right, a month. Right now I'm short of another 3,000 rand. How am I going to get that 3,000 rand? It's unfair, guys. The government needs to look into that. Government needs to look into these unscrupulous private property owners who are charging students ridiculous bond rates. That's not student accommodation. There has to be a cap as to what students can pay. There has to be a cap because these are not working people. You cannot target students just because, well, they got iPhones, so therefore they can afford. It does not work like that. Once you say you are catering to this certain market demographic, this is the pensioners, it's the students, there has to be a cap on as to how much you can charge these people. That's how I think. That's what I feel. I think that's a fair way of looking at it, irrespective of that student affording or unable to afford. There has to be a cap as to what students can get, right? Same like when you're entering a show, they'll tell you any kids under 4, under 8, under 12 pay a certain price, irrespective of the background of their child. As long as the child is under 12, under 10, under 8, under whatever, under 5, pay a certain price. Even taxis tell you any child over the age of 3 pays. Any child under 3 doesn't pay. You see what I'm saying? There has to be a package designed for students. That's what you call the student market. But now you're charging students like normal working people. I mean, how does that work? Why? Why? Guys, this is just ridiculous. The government needs to look into this seriously. It's just ridiculous. Next, no, there's no pros. There's no pros in this. There's no pros. Next, we look into the cons because there's just no pros into profiting off students. No, it's not a pro. No, there's no pro in this. It's a con. There's only cons. Next, we look into the cons. You know how we do. Hello, people. The cons of student accommodation charging them exorbitant prices. People, this is totally unfair. Totally, totally, totally unfair. What you are doing is basically manipulating the students mentally, psychologically. That is psychological warfare, basically, because what you're doing is putting the students in a position where they do not want to be, where they did not anticipate, where they did not envision themselves to be. Because when a student lives their far away places, going to these institutions of study, the last thing they're thinking of is going to get a job. That's the last thing. The last thing they're thinking is going to sell their bodies. The last thing they're thinking is going to sell their souls on top of studying. And this is when you as a predator comes in. You as the devil comes in. You as the whatever you want to call yourself comes in and robs them of that time that they could have been studying, that time that they could have been researching, that time they could have been putting that effort into that project that they want to finish in there because now they've got to go and earn this extra money that they do not have. Do you feel proud about that? As long as you're making money, that's good on you. because it's not your family, it's not your child. So that's fine with you. So to all the unscrupulous accommodation providers, to the real estate agents, the property developers, to NESFAS, if you are included in that colluding with these unscrupulous accommodation providers, people, please stop that. Government needs to step in, and government needs to play their role, and they need to put a cap on what students can pay, right? Even if it means that the accommodations need to be downgraded to just student lifestyle. We can take out whatever sonas there are. You need to do that, but do not upgrade your accommodation to a point where you're trying to charge foreign rates, trying to charge in dollars now, just because now you put in plasma screens, you put in Wi-Fi, and you put in the fastest download the fastest Wi-Fi that you can possibly get, just so that you can maximize the property's prices out of students. Totally wrong. There has to be a cap on what the students can pay. There has to be a cap on what appliances and what they, just so that everything is within the budget for what students can afford and what both parties seem to be a win-win situation. You understand what I mean? That's how I feel. That's what I think is fair. Anything over there, I think it's just a rip-off. Really. I just think it's a rip-off. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Was I on the money, or did I totally miss it with this one? Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Huh?